September 30th, 2021. Dissed by dancing, carp and island improvements, crypto charging order. It's a full day. I've been sad for the past day because I feel betrayed by the team at Dancing with the Stars, despite having spent a year talking to the media about how much I appreciated that they took a chance on me and gave me a platform to talk about protecting big cats. They've wiped all reference to me from their YouTube library, except for my elimination video to add salt to the wound. The video of Pasha and me dancing to Eye of the Tiger had reached over 3 million views in the first 2 months when I last grabbed the screenshot in November of 2020, and was the 4th most popular video clip in their collection. Now when you Google my name, all you find is the elimination slap in the face, yet the others you see around my video above are all still there. I think someone felt I was too controversial again because of the lies perpetuated by those with an agenda to silence me. And then this image was something that Tyra Banks, the host of the show, had promoted, saying, "I'm so excited to share that the ratings for At Dancing ABC premiere episode were up 30%. That was the season I was in. The crew and the cast brought it, and I thank them for their dedication and next-level fierceness in the ballroom, in front of and behind the camera." Then this is back to my notes. Apparently, it didn't matter that my participation was widely viewed to be the reason for them to see an uptick of 30% in the ratings after their long decline from their heyday. I feel betrayed and sad, but determined to prove that they are all on the wrong side of history. Later note, this was from October 15th of 2021. So, yeah, because I'm in September, so this later note, I was like, what? The later note was dated October 15th, 2021, that I came back and added to this page. Howie had a number of emails back and forth with Dina Katz, who claims they have to pull all of the musical clips down after a year because they only pay for 1 year of the rights. I did notice, when checking out the show initially, how few dances were actually online, and wondered why the only stuff they kept were the eliminations and winners. Howie told her that didn't pass the sniff test, though, as there were so many in the, quote, most popular playlist that I'd pointed out to them that did have music. Dina said it was an oversight and they would remove them, which Howie said wasn't necessary, but they did. I guess they did care enough about how that was perceived to fix it. Grass carp. My message to Jamie and Victor. Doug Charles of Charles Aquaculture visited with his daughter on September 30th, 2021, and says he owns the only FWC-approved fish farm for carp now, and that he's bringing tiny fish from Arkansas, acclimating and growing them up a bit here, and then he stocks lakes. He said if they come into our lake too small, the big-mouth bass just eat them up. He said that traumatized fish after 24 hours in a truck swim along the top of the lake and are easy prey. He said November of 2021 is the earliest he can get half of the fish to us, so you should continue putting the hydrothol granular. He said you actually have a better chance of getting ahead of the hydrilla in the big side of the lake because after the whole surface is involved, it's harder to have an impact. He said people drown in hydrilla because they panic, and that scares me for Priya and Duchess, so we should probably be pretty aggressive over there. He wouldn't recommend this type of herbicide treatments until February or March because he said that the cold will reduce the hydrilla below the surface. You want to poison it when it's at its weakest, which is then. He says the almanac is calling for a colder than usual winter, and that will help. He claims all the stuff he uses will be safe for the cats, and in his proposal he will include all of the product MSDS labels and info for us to make a decision. He uses an airplane for distribution and wants to create a relationship where he takes care of the lake and we never have to worry about it again. I explained that we probably can't afford his program and are going to be extremely cautious on the impact this could have on the cats, and we'll have to just use the carp. We will see what he proposes. He saw the cattail work being done and said that must have set us back $20,000 or more based on the other jobs he's seen to price for removal. So I was happy we only spent a little under $7,000. He said that was a steal. The torpedo grass and alligator grass are starting to block the area between the swamp and the lake at the lake bank by Duchess. that same stuff that is in Rocky Creek on those islands. And he says Roundup, the stuff in Roundup, is the only solution. I'm extremely wary of using that where we have manatees. I never did. The island is more paradise by the day. 2 weeks of blood, sweat, and tears has resulted in the removal of over 100 sabal palms that were choking out oaks and each other. 60 of them were relocated to the vacant field, and in each of about 22 holes were planted about a dozen princess palms and ferns around the base of the grouping. The idea was 3 trees to a grouping and then ferns and maybe later bromeliads and orchids as well. Rocky Creek's banks have been scraped of weeds and cattails that block my view of the river and have been replanted with Wedelia, ferns, and bromeliads. It wasn't in the plan, but resulted in removing a lot of potential issues with our power lines. Also not planned was cutting Jamie's internet line when we relocated a 20-year-old Bougainvillea bush to her front yard. She wasn't happy. In fact, Jamie has been mostly angry about the changes I've made to the yard, saying she wanted to go slower and plan it out better. We've lived here since the 90s and early 2000s, so how much longer? I told her to give it a chance, and whatever she didn't like, we would pull out. Aldo pressure washed my house for the first time, and it looks like new. I would forego painting it, if not for the fact that so many boards have to be replaced, and it's impossible to match the cypress lap siding now, so it was going to look like a patchwork quilt by the time I finished anyway. Jamie helped me pick a seafoam green called Sea Treasure that Howie and I both liked. Today she's picking up the paint for Aldo. He taped my windows yesterday so it feels claustrophobic in there with no view to the outdoors. He said it will be 2 coats of primer before the paint, so the house is going to be white for a while. Victor is still going to spread another truckload of topsoil, but then the yard work will be mostly done. I have people around, so I am very anxious to finish this work and get back to the hermit life. I have found it relaxing and a great way to burn off frustrations to be out in the yard cleaning up the views, transplanting the stuff that seems to be living there naturally, and watering everything. 2 weeks ago it rained for about 10 days straight, so everything became a muddy mess, but now it's dry and may be dry a while, so I want to give the plantings a good chance of survival. Some of the other improvements included removing all of the decades of phone and internet wires and conduit off the house, tearing out the rotten deck, extending the concrete sidewalk to the front porch, filling the front deck area footer with seashells, installing the concrete table and remaining bench after the work crew trashed one in the shell area. I seem to recall it coming from the Columbia restaurant back in the 90s. I cleaned up the boat, old chicken yard, and piles of junk from Jamie's house and put it where neither of us will have to look at it along the fence line. We ordered plans for a huge shed to go in front of it, but due to COVID and people refusing to work, they can't even get past the plan drafting stage. It's been months of waiting and nagging Slajana and finally her architectural drawings to Jamie, but she just doesn't listen. She's now on version 3 to get it drawn the way Jamie told her she wants it to look. Then she has to send it over to engineers to tell us if the plan will work. Then permitting, which takes about 3 months or more. Then Sasha Nitschke can start construction. The good news is that it will fall into the dry winter months, so that's a good thing when we are tearing off a roof. I've been selling our own NFTs and have been working with Proton, BitClout, and Rally.io, but the Naughty Tigers have been the biggest opportunity for the cats so far and required the least amount of my time. Charging order for Jeff Lowe to pay us $25,000. Judge Pock ordered Jeff Lowe to pay us $25,000 for the damage he did to the GW Zoo and $8,000 in our attorney fees. Howie had fought our attorney and the judge's own predilections to make this a charging order instead of merely a judgment. Deadbeats don't pay judgments. There was no way that we believed Jeff Lowe would honor a judgment against him in our favor. A charging order is the only remedy that works with people like him. It was the only money Joe Schreibvogel ever paid us. If Jeff Lowe refuses to pay us, then he goes to jail. That's something these criminals fear, so it's the only leverage. We have another motion outstanding for I don't know what this is. I think I put a comma in the wrong place. Outstanding for $80,000 more, and Howie will be asking for the same thing. I'm so happy to be finally bringing these lawsuits to a close.
If you're enjoying my diary, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find other ways to connect to me over at bigcatrescue.org/Carole.Baskin.